Got a crash, and it is blocking the center two lanes of 65 northbound approaching Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. At TDOT reporting that. TDOT's also reporting there is a disabled vehicle blocking the right lane of the eastbound East Loop downtown, right there at Shelby Avenue. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is about 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, and this is Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, coming to you live from the Wilson County Fairgrounds, where we're getting ready for our big election party. And I got to tell you, what a place we have set up here as people start to arrive. The doors, you can wander in starting at 3. That's now, and you can we'll open up the food somewhere around 5, and so the rest of the guys will be joining me ere long in the next couple of hours. And basically, we're going to be going through late into the night, whatever it takes. And if we can get an answer tonight, I think we're going to hang in there until we get that answer. If the answer seems like it may be a couple of days away, then we're going to call it a night probably around midnight. So come on out. Let's see how it's going. I'm feeling good about the things that I'm hearing. And I just want to go ahead and open up the phone lines. I'm not going to get to you for a minute. I have some stuff that I want to cover. But in the meantime, let me open up phone lines at 615-737-9986. What I'm curious about, and this is our topic, I want to know if you voted today, what was your experience like? I'm hearing reports of very heavy turnout. I haven't heard any problems in the state of Tennessee. And to that point, the Secretary of State, Trey Hargett, will join us at 5:05 this afternoon to talk about, how things have gone thus far. But if you have a story to tell about how long you waited or something that happened at the polls today, 615-737-9986. Let us get started, if I could, then with all of our election coverage. I got a couple of things that I want to play for you here. How is it going? Well, I'm looking at the numbers. Of course, I get up this morning. I'm looking at the latest polls. There's a whole bunch of them that came out today. Look, I think the popular vote is going to be very close, but I think that that's not the important thing. It's the battleground states, and there I feel Trump is poised to do well. And we'll talk about all that, but let's start out with Matt Towery. He's a pollster, and he was asked today on Fox News how he thought things were looking.
Number one, don't pay attention to the exit polls. They're always wrong. Number two, Polymarket, good prediction market, shows Trump 58% likely to win, 41.6 to Harris, and that's going down. The next thing you can look for are early voting. Trump is outperforming his early voting from both 2016, when it wasn't so big, at 2020. So all he needs is a good turnout of Republicans on this election day, and he's going to carry these battleground states. That's another point to make. And I guess finally, the polls, we don't know if these pollsters have adjusted their methodology to find these shy Trump voters. Robert and I both had more trouble this year because Republicans won't answer the polls. So a lot of these polls that show, the Democrats are doing great, it's hard to get the Trump voters to tell you what they're thinking because they're scared to tell anyone.
So, what he's saying is, that Trump may be doing better than he's done in the polls. Now, that was true in the last 2 election cycles. Trump did better than the pollsters suggested he would do on Election Day. Now, have they made adjustments? Hard to know. Hard to know if they made the proper adjustments, but pollsters in the last couple of days, when the rubber meets the road and they're about to be judged on the performance of their polls, it's interesting what pollsters will tell you. And several pollsters have come out and talked about the difficulty they've had in reaching the shy Trump voter. And what they're trying to say is, Yeah, here's our prediction. And yes, it's based on our phone calls, and we think we've done a good job. But the bottom line is we have had difficulty in reaching some of these shy Trump voters, and he may actually do better than the polls suggest. That's the way that goes. So in Pennsylvania, 19 electoral college votes. It is the big swing state that it's the swingiest of all the swing states. Let's just be honest about it. And everybody is wondering, how's it going to go? How's it going to go in Pennsylvania? Here is Mark Penn. He's a Democrat pollster talking about the situation in Pennsylvania.
The polling there is incredibly close, and really, I think the biggest change, which gives Democrats a pause, is in the early vote. In the early vote, there was a 1 million vote lead last time, and that's been cut down to 400,000 votes. So that's 600,000 votes that have to show up in the Democratic column on Election Day. That is a tall order. That's why I think you've seen, concern on the Democrats' part about Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so that's, I think, really good news from Mark Penn. Now, let's turn to another battleground state. This is the state of Nevada, and there's a guy there. He works for the Independent in Nevada. He's a very well-known analyst of political things in the Silver State, and he is being asked about, what's going on here, because early voting in Nevada was very good for Republicans. Much better than it has been in a long, long time. So what does that mean? He does his analysis on MSNBC. His name is John Ralston.
43,000 ballot lead for the Republicans, but the Democratic machine here is still formidable. As you know, it's won the last 4 presidential cycles, and so I just think that they're going to be able to get enough ballots in between now and the end of the week, because they have till the end of the week for mail ballots if they're postmarked before the election, to just squeak it out. But I mean, I predicted that Harris would win by 0.3%. Come on, that's very few votes, so it could go either way.
Yeah, it could go either way. Tight there. Again, my sense of it is that the Republicans have done an exceptional good job of getting people to vote early, and that's good for our side. Banking those votes early means that there's less of a heavy lift on Election Day. By many accounts around the country, the turnout has been really remarkable. Let's see. Donald Trump went and voted this morning with Melania in Florida. Here's a little bit of what he had to say there.
But we're going to go over to the office in West Palm, and we're going to say hello to the workers. They've worked very hard.
Will Georgia kind of be your first indication of whether it's going to be?
I think so. I mean, I hear we're doing very well there in Georgia. I hear we're doing very well. I hear we're doing very well everywhere. Now, I may regret that statement, but I'm hearing that we're doing very well.
That's the president earlier today. They're getting ready for the big election party tonight down at Mar-a-Lago. Okay, let's go through some numbers. I have a lot of numbers here that gathered to sort of give you a sense of where things stand. In the Real Clear Politics national average, that's the general election number. Remember, I'm not too worried about general election numbers because you can win the general election popular vote, but not win the Electoral College battle, which is really where it's all at. But they have Harris up by, are you ready for this? 0.1, 0.1%. In the battleground averages, they have Trump up in the 7 battleground states that are all averaged together, Trump up by 0.8. But remember, we don't know whether or not the pollsters have actually, been able to find the Trump voters for their polling and have made the proper adjustments. Betting odds, well, the people who do the betting on elections are heavily weighted toward Trump at this moment. They believe Trump has a 59% chance of winning the election, and that Harris has only a 39% chance of winning. A big round of polls, battleground polls, came in from Atlas Intel. And why I like this poll is because they, in the 2020 election, were the most accurate. And here's where they have it, and we're talking, these are battleground states. In Pennsylvania, Atlas Intel has Trump up by 1. In Michigan, Again, another important battleground state. They have Trump up by 2. Wisconsin, Trump up by 1. North Carolina, Trump up by 2. Georgia, Trump up by 2. Nevada, Trump up by 3. And Arizona, Trump up by 5. I have done my, if you check my social media page, in my Facebook page, it's Brian Wilson 997. You'll find that I have put up my electoral college map. I have Trump winning with 287 electoral votes. That means the bottom line. I mean, really, here's the bottom line. If he does well, let's say in Georgia and North Carolina, and then he starts to do well in Pennsylvania, that's a good sign early in the night. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get all the Pennsylvania votes in, but one way or the other, Pennsylvania is for all the money. But it's that rust wall. And here's the difference between Trump's challenge and Harris's challenge. Harris has to win, the way I see it, all 3 of those rust wall states. That would be Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. He's got to win all 3. Trump only has to win 1. If he does well in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Nevada, in Arizona, he only has to win 1 of the 3. There's no way that I see she can win unless she wins all 3. Now, look, there could be a surprise. A lot of people are saying that you should look very closely at what happens in Virginia tonight. I mean, the polls do not indicate that Trump is going to win Virginia, but if he does better than expected, that's a good sign. A lot of people are saying, look at New Hampshire. Look at New Hampshire tonight. Those results should come in fairly early. And in New Hampshire, people are saying he could win. I don't know if he'll win or not. But again, if he does really well in New Hampshire and really well in Virginia, that is a very good sign that it may be a good night for Donald Trump. So those are the numbers that we have. I've got other numbers, but I won't bore them with you. And I think this is going to be a really, really interesting night. We're at that point where you've heard from the politicians, and you've heard from the press, and you've heard from the pundits. But what we have not yet heard is from the people. And the counting will start tonight, starting about 7 o'clock. And then it's going to be a long night as we wait for enough votes to come in to see if we can determine who's a winner. Now, the Trump people have put out the word today that they do not think that they will be able to have a decision today. In other words, they believe that the votes will come in so slowly that we may not have a decision on who gets to 270 tonight. I think that's probably right. I think we may be into tomorrow or maybe the next day. Who knows? The lawyers are in place. 5,000 lawyers on each side. 10,000 lawyers looking for something to do. You know they're going to find something to do, and sooner or later there are going to be a lot of lawsuits because that's what lawyers do. They look for opportunities to file lawsuits. So it's going to be, I think we're going to need to pack our patience. I think we all need to take a deep breath. We will take it as it comes. And as the information comes, and by the way, let me just give you this one little thing. If Trump does not win like a state like Nevada, but does well in the Rust Belt, it doesn't matter. He can lose one of those states. So it's going to be a very interesting night. We're going to be talking about the strategy. I'll be talking about my 270 map. The guys will be here about 5 o'clock. We got a lot of stuff ahead of us here tonight as we begin our election coverage live from the Wilson County Fairgrounds. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. You don't have to wait to start taking our country back. We can get in the fight now with Coin, the conservatives' credit card. Instead of funneling millions to the left like other cards, Coin advances conservative values and charities. So earn your cash back while fighting back. Apply now at coin.com. That's COIGN.com. Terms do apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Bomb threats and voter turnout coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver there in the newsroom, getting all of the news and information you need from around the world and across the country. And there in the control room, it's Chris Weber pushing all the blinky buttons as he does so ably. And standing by on the phone, some people are going to give us their stories about voting today. If you have an interesting story about how long the lines were, what you experienced, something you saw, 615-737-9986. Got a couple of 2 or 3 phone lines open. I got some full. So let's get started with Danny in Hermitage. Hermitage. Hello, Danny. You're on with Brian on the drive. Danny, what was your experience today?
Hey, Brian. I went about lunchtime, and it was about an hour, and I seen a lot of baseball caps and a lot of grunt-style shirts, and I know which way they vote.
Yeah, so where did you vote exactly?
It was the library in Hermitage.
And about an hour to get through at noon today, right?
Correct. I think a little longer because it was lunchtime.
Yeah. Was it uneventful? If things went smoothly?
Yeah, it went smoothly, real quick. I moved down here, and I brought my fishing poles and my Republican vote. So.
All right. Well, Danny, thank you so much for the call. Greatly appreciated. Phone lines open 615-737-9986. Scotty in Springfield, you're on with Brian on the drive. What was your experience today, Scotty?
Well, Brian, I apologize. I didn't hear the topic of the phone call. I voted early, but from what it sounds like, the lines were longer when I went and voted early.
May have been. They may have been. Did you have another thing that you wanted to mention briefly?
Yes, I did. If we do get a call early tonight at your party, I wish I could be there. I got to stay home with elderly parents tonight, but we're having our own little party. But if they do call it early, a good song by the late, great Charlie Daniels, God Bless America Again.
All right. Thank you very much, Scotty. Appreciate it. Let's go to Andy in Columbia. Andy, you're on with Brian on the drive. You vote today. How did it go?
It went very well. I was up there at 6:45.
Yeah.
I was the 8th person in line.
Mm-hmm.
I live out in the country. And very pleasant.
Very pleasant, easy experience?
Yes, and I wore my red IH hat, which is International Arbiter.
Okay. And it went smoothly, and what was the line like as you left?
They were big.
All right. Thank you very much, Andy. I appreciate it. Bonnie in Tullahoma, you're up with Brian on the drive. So how did the voting go for you, Bonnie?
Well, it went fine. When I first got there, there was about 15 people in front of me. It's about 8:15 in the morning in Tullahoma at a church. And I noticed a guy, 2 up in front of me, had a vest on, and it reminded me of the garbage men's vest. And I said something. I said, I like your vest. And all at once, a big garbage dump truck drove by. And the guy in front of me knew what I was talking about, but I kept it calm. I didn't say nothing. But when I was leaving, I met a Hispanic man that's lived here for 10 years. And this is his first time voting, and they were having trouble finding his name on the list or something. And I asked the woman, I said, well, what does that mean? You know, what happens when they can't find? She said, well, everybody gets to vote.
That's right. That's right. I
didn't really get involved in that, but what I'm trying to say is that he and I walked outside together, and I said, wow, I said, this is going to be a mess if she gets it or something. He said, I basically tired of everything. And I said, I voted for T. He said, I did too.
Well, there you go. The thing is if you have a problem, and I just want to mention, Bonnie, if you have a problem, you can ask for a provisional ballot, and that means you can vote, and then they'll work out whatever issue. And if the issue is worked out, then they count the ballot. So that, even if you're not on the list, there's still a way for you to vote. And folks, I think in Tennessee it goes pretty smooth. Look, it's no surprise what's going to happen in Tennessee. We pretty much know how that's going to go, don't we? Don't you think?
Yes.
All right, Bonnie. Well, thank you for the call. Greatly appreciate it. I'm going to try to squeeze one more in here. Let's go to Richard in Murfreesboro. Richard, your voting experience today, how did it go?
Well, down here, our part of Rutherford County, real easy, wasn't very busy over at the Stewart's Creek area, about 10:30, so very, very quick, very smooth. And, hey, I got a real quick question, if you can answer, even on the other side of the break.
Okay.
My hope in this election, everything as far as Donald Trump goes, was based off of, in various states, the amount of new registrations that the Republicans had registered in huge numbers in various states. And so could you talk a little bit about that as that being the confidence thing of how many more registered voters they registered this year compared to the Democrats?
All right, Richard, I will talk about that, and I'll do that right after the news because it's 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on Election Day 2024. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, Channel 4's Marissa Sulik gauging voter turnout in Nashville.
We're here at Sylvan Park Elementary School where they've seen about 700 voters come out all day today. And right now, there's a few. It's a little slow here. However, they are expecting this to pick up after work when people get off. They did say that there was a line this morning as they were opening. Now, I was talking to the Davidson County Election Commission today, and as of 1 p.m. this afternoon, they say they've seen a higher voter turnout than 2020, but not as much as 2016. This is just a sample of the 35 districts in the metro area. All day we have seen people come to their polling place and cast their votes in 5 minutes at the most. It's been a quick process and one voters today wanted to do in person.
That is Marissa Sulik there. So far, Georgia reporting very few, if any, issues at the polls throughout the state. It's in spite of 2 locations being evacuated following a series of bomb threats in the battleground state. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger blaming Russian interference.
Law enforcement did go to every one of those locations, and all but 2 precincts, to our knowledge, did not stop any voting. And we had a couple counties that actually had postponed it for 30 minutes while they went through and did a check.
Yeah, the FBI says there are fake news stories about high terrorist threats at polling locations, but USA Today says an FBI statement says that they're aware of these fake stories, 2 instances of its name and insignia being misused in promoting false narratives surrounding the election in America today. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got some crashes blocking the way right now. 65 northbound right before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. The right lane is blocked. 65 northbound at I-40 West on the northwest loop downtown. Also downtown, 24 eastbound near Shelby Avenue. You got a disabled vehicle blocking the right lane. Then east of Nashville, you've got 40 eastbound at Stewart's Ferry Pike. There's a crash blocking the left lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, the Wellness Institute of Nashville is proud to sponsor our election coverage, and as a pillar of our community, they're also stepping up to aid flood victims. You can visit their booth here tonight at our location and participate in a unique auction. These are wine bottles salvaged from the floodwaters, which have been autographed by Super Talk 99.7 folks, and you'll love to have that. All proceeds benefit flood relief. You can also contribute with a donation at the event. Now, as you know, I go to the Wellness Institute of Nashville because I have a little problem with my back and neck, and I'm telling you, they've helped me so much. I'm a big believer in this non-invasive spinal decompression. Their state-of-the-art facilities and their high-tech equipment offer the latest procedures. And because getting better is so important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
.38 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air all the way till, well, who knows how late it's going to go. I mean, normally it'd be 7, but we're getting ready for our election coverage out here at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. It is a phenomenal building that we're in. Huge arena. People are starting to show up. The doors are open. You can come on down and hang out with us. But really, the food and the drink won't be ready until 5 o'clock. And that's when I'll be joined by, the rest of the team. Dan Mandis will join us. Chris Hand and, of course, Matt Murphy will all start wandering in around 5 o'clock. And then we're in it. You know, our heads are down until we start getting some numbers and we start figuring out exactly what's going on. It's going to be, I think, a great event tonight. So come on down and join us at the Wilson County Fairgrounds in Lebanon. I'm telling you, it's going to be a blowout, a real blowout. I want to talk a little bit about what I consider to be some of the best news that I heard today. Now, you're going to say, really? Give me some good news, Wilson. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, it doesn't have to do with the presidential race. It has to do with something, though, that I think is extremely important, and that is who controls the United States Senate. Now, I don't know what's going to happen in the House of Representatives. If it's a good night for Trump and his coattails are long, then maybe the Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives. But I believe, and looking at the numbers this morning, that the Republicans are poised to pick up 3 seats in the United States Senate, which would give them control no matter what. And when you say, well, that is good news, but why is that the best news? Because I'll tell you, that's your firewall. The United States Senate being controlled by Republicans means that no matter what else happens tonight, they can stop the crazy. they can stop the crazy from happening. And if Kamala Harris becomes president of the United States, and if Democrats were to control the Congress, they have plans. They want to do away with the filibuster. They want to pack the Supreme Court. They want to fundamentally change this country. And it's been said by Mike Lee, a senator from Utah, and I agree with him, that if that were to happen, that there would be a situation in America where Republicans probably would be shut out of winning an election for the next 100 years because they would so fundamentally change the way the country runs. And Kamala Harris has made no bones about it in the past. She wants to get rid of the filibuster, to push the Green New Deal, to do whatever they need to do to pack the court. She's all for that. And I believe, that the rights of the minority being protected in the Senate, even when we're not in the minority, is a good thing. And that's what the filibuster is all about. It's supposed to be, the Senate is supposed to be the cooling saucer where the passions of the House are sort of, put in balance. And so I'm really excited. So the states, in addition to all the other states that where Republicans are running, and some question has been raised about Texas. I looked at the numbers this morning. I think Ted Cruz is going to be fine in the state of Texas. But it looks like Republicans are poised to pick up West Virginia, that's a no-brainer. Everybody knows that. Montana, that's where Sheehy is doing better than Tester, and he's up a lot, so that seems like a pretty good. Red state, not surprising that a Democrat running for re-election in a very red state, a very Donald Trump-focused state, would have difficulty getting re-elected, and it looks like Sheehy. So that's 2. And then number 3, and there may be others, but number 3, Ohio. Sherrod Brown, the Democrat, going down hard, it looks like, I think, tonight. But one way or the other, it does appear that the Republicans are poised to take back the United States Senate, which will be a very different body when the Congress returns, because Mitch McConnell will no longer be the majority leader. So that's going to be interesting. And again, I think that is hugely important news. No matter what else happens, a Republican Senate protects you and me from the crazy. So, I mean, I have a good feeling about tonight. I think that, the numbers that I'm seeing and the anecdotal evidence that I'm hearing about seem to suggest to me that I think Donald Trump is going to pull out a victory here tonight. We'll see as the numbers start to come in. But even if things should go really wrong, picking up the Senate is a great way to protect, us from the crazy of Kamala Harris and her ilk. The economy, still the very top factor in the election, and one of the things that I think is interesting about this is that is an issue that bodes well for Republicans. If indeed, as we have heard in past elections, I think it was James Carville who first coined the term that it's the economy, stupid. It usually is the economy. In presidential elections, in the past, more often than not, the people have voted in their economic interests. And I think that is one that cuts well for the Trump crowd. I think most people feel like that they were better off. I mean, if they're honest. I mean, Democrats will say whatever they have to say when polled, but if you're honest about it, I think most people would say they were better off economically under Donald Trump than they have been under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And so that the economy is still the top factor. This, according to the people from Gallup, the gold standard of pollsters, the economy, according to the Epoch Times, was the top concern listed by voters ahead of the election in a newly released Gallup survey. Voters were asked what was the most important factor in determining which candidate they were voting for in the November 5th election. Pretty simple question. The most frequent answer was the economy. Overall, 21% of respondents chose the economy, including 35% of Republicans and people leaning Republican, and 7% of Democrats. But if they were honest, they would say it's the economy, too. Immigration was picked up by 13% of voters, primarily Republicans. The most popular answer among Democrats, as you might imagine, was abortion issues, women's rights, while just 2% of Republicans chose that answer. 16% of Democrats did. But let's compare that, okay? 21% of respondents say that the economy is the most important issue, and 16% of Democrats said that the issue of abortion rights and women's rights were of interest to them. 14% of Democrats and 1% of Republicans picked preservation of democracy. Another 9% of Democracies and 1% of Republicans chose dislike of a particular candidate. And another 8% of Democrats and 1% of Republicans picked up ethics, morals, decency, and honesty. A small number of respondents picked up remaining options, but they really don't matter. The survey conducted 14th through the 27th. Results were drawn from a random weighted survey of 907 registered voters who live across all 50 states. Among the 933 registered voters who responded, 93% said they had already made up their minds who they were voting for. 6% said they were still deciding. And those who planned to vote included 323 Republicans, 304 independents, and 304 Democrats. The sample was weighted according to Gallup to correct for selection. So there you go. I think a really good sign. I mean, if the two issues that people care about most are the economy and immigration, those are issues that bode well for Donald Trump. When you traditionally look at, what are the things that drive your vote? What is the thing that drive your vote? You have to understand that some people are going to come to it with an agenda, but I think other people are going to come to you and just give you their honest assessment. I think, honestly, if you ask people and gave them truth serum and said, you got to tell me the truth, not what you think I want to hear, but what you really feel, most people believe it's the economy. And right behind that in this country today is concern about the border, about immigration, and so it seems as if those two issues, I think, cut very, very well for Donald Trump as we go forward. Here's another story today from the Daily Wire, a listing of the things, and I thought this was interesting, that Kamala Harris has supported in the past but won't say that she supports now. This is the thing that I think is so dishonest about what the Democrats are doing, is that she won't be honest with you about the things that the very, very liberal positions that she has held before. Why? Well, she needs to appeal to independents in the middle who might be undecided or have concerns about Donald Trump. She needs to get those people. And if she goes out there with the wild, wacky, leftist, liberal, loony things that she's supported in the past, she will drive those voters away. So she is being dishonest about the things that she believes. And she said, well, my opinions have changed. My opinions have changed. Well, and she said, but then she says, but my principles haven't. I don't know quite how to understand. I mean, it seems to me that your principles often guide the positions that you hold, and if they don't, there's something wrong. But here are some of the things that she has supported in the past, but refuses to admit that she continues to support them. Executive actions to unilaterally give a path of citizenship to 2 million dreamers, the undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as children. Ending the death penalty on the federal level. She has opposed capital punishment since 2003. You ask her about it today, you do not get a straight answer. A mandate for automakers to only build electric or hydrogen vehicles by the year 2035. The problem with that is that right now it's very clear that Americans have said in very clear fashion that they don't really want electric vehicles. Those who have them want them, pretty much have them, and those who don't have them don't want them. And each of the major automakers is pulling back on the building of EVs right now, but she will push for the Green New Deal wherever she can, and that's part of that. She has in the past been in favor of executive actions to protect more than 6 million undocumented immigrants from deportation by expanding what they call the Deferred Action Guidelines. She has been in favor of decriminalizing prostitution in the past. She has been in favor of closing private for-profit prisons. She's absolutely in favor of getting rid of the Senate filibuster in order to pass multi-trillion-dollar Green New Deal legislation, to pack the courts and whatever else she loony ideas they come up with. She's in favor of not having a filibuster. As I said, a good reason why. I'm happy that it looks like the Senate is going to flip Republican. We'll cross our fingers about the House of Representatives. 50 minutes past the hour now of 3 o'clock. Have you heard about this item that Costco keeps running out of? They're gold bars. They just can't keep them in stock. Gold's breathtaking surge this year to repeated record highs has not stopped bullion from flying off the shelves. Gold is not only one of the best performing commodities, it is also outperforming other assets like stock and bonds in some cases. The surge has been driven by its appeal as a safe haven asset in times of geopolitical and economic uncertainty. You know where you can get gold when Costco doesn't have it? From my friends at Nashville Gold & Coin. They sell the same high-quality products as Costco and other national online retailers, and they will not overcharge you, and as a bonus, you'll be supporting a locally owned business. Kyle and Hannah are true experts, and you can count on top-of-the-line, personalized, customized customer service. Nashville Gold & Coin is the best place to buy gold in Middle Tennessee, and you'll be dealing with experts instead of some random store clerk with zero knowledge about precious metals. Make an appointment today with Nashville Gold & Coin. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Robust voter turnout. Few glitches at the polls, but Russia is up to some shenanigans. We'll tell you about it at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you, Kent Weaver. Taking a look at the markets, Dow Jones Industrials having a good day as traders await U.S. election results. The Dow up 427 points, the S&P up 70, NASDAQ up 259 points. So all screens are green today. So let's find out what's driving the market. John Maxon is standing by from Beacon Capital Management. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yep, a big day, obviously, with the election, and the market probably hopes, like most Americans, to get an answer tonight or as soon as possible. That'll probably calm down any volatility in the market. Not a lot of real economic reports today. ISM services actually came in significantly better than expected, so that was a good report. Oil is something to watch. It's up for the 5th day in a row. But again, obviously, everything's about the election today. Hopefully we get a clear winner. Tomorrow, the Fed's going to come out, widely expected to cut rates. Again, about a quarter of a point is sort of the betting line on Wall Street right now. The market should cheer that. But again, all signs are about the market today, the election tonight, but pretty good day on the market.
All right, thank you very much, John. And to find out about all the things that John Maxon and the other good people at Beacon Capital Management, what they can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to the website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Restoration Wellness is a leader in advanced therapy treatment for arthrosis and chronic pain in Middle Tennessee. You know, chronic pain affects 20% of all adults in the U.S. Chronic pain increases with age, affecting nearly 50% of adults over the age of 65. Don't let chronic pain control your life. Restoration Wellness has the newest technology in joint injections, a minimally invasive treatment to relieve pain without needing surgery. Restoration Wellness joint injection treatments can help relieve anything from shoulder pain, hip pain, knee pain, everything in between. They put together a personalized treatment plan specific to your needs in the consultation in the office. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your health goals this year. Call them at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. My friends Carly and Jamie will take care of you like you're one of their own. Say goodbye to your chronic pain and get a new lease on life. And don't let chronic pain control your life.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
4 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on Election Day 2024. We've got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now, here's Michelle Franzen.
Election officials across states say there is robust turnout and few glitches so far at the polls, giving way to the excitement of casting a ballot, whether you are a longtime voter or newcomer like Viviana Marin in Coral Gables, Florida.
I'm so excited because it's my first time voting. I'm so happy because I live now here, and I think I can add to the decisions to can change this country.
Battleground states like Georgia say they are seeing fewer troubles and long lines than in 2020 due to efforts by election officials and early voting. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
The average check-in time is still 49 seconds. and the line time has dropped now to 1 minute.
Nevada election officials say they've also made big investments to streamline the process and are keeping pace with counting ballots.
Now, here in Nashville, voters at Sylvan Park Elementary School, where about 700 voters have already cast ballots, telling Channel 4.
Super easy. No line. I was expecting a little bit more of a line. This is my first time voting in Nashville, so that was huge. And I was expecting more of a line with a bigger city, but it was not very crowded in there.
Nashville officials say voter turnout today is heavier than 2020, but not 2016. Right now in our nation's capital.
There's no indication right now that it had anything to do with the election.
That's Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger, who says they had to close the visitor center following the arrest of a man trying to enter the building smelling like fuel. He had flammable items in his backpack. It's unclear if he was planning to light himself or items in his book bag on fire, but an investigation ongoing. And officials are blaming Russia for bomb threats against Atlanta area polling places, also polling places in Maine. None of them found to be credible. But what happened in July? Well, that's different. U.S. officials are blaming Russia when 2 incendiary devices ignited in packages at DHL logistics hubs in Germany and the U.K., catching fire before they were put on aircraft. Now several people under arrest. Patrick Reevell with more at the Foreign Desk.
A senior U.S. official told ABC the U.S. believes that was part of a wider plot by Russia's security services to send devices on cargo or passenger planes potentially heading to the U.S. meant to punish America for its support for Ukraine. The Wall Street Journal first reported the alleged plot. Poland and Lithuania have now arrested 5 people suspected of involvement. It comes amid a broader sabotage campaign by Russian spies across Europe, already linked to several major arson attacks.
The Kremlin denying any involvement. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, we've got a problem here. Eastbound, actually, this is going to be 40 westbound, right there near 24. It's going to be on right there by that east loop where it joins the south loop, but it's going to be 40 westbound with traffic blocked. The off-ramp is blocked there right before you get to 24. And then up here north of town in Jolton, we've got a multi-vehicle crash. This is 24 westbound. The 2 left lanes are blocked. So is the left shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. Hour number 2 of the drive now underway. We are at the Wilson County Fairgrounds today. As you know, we're doing our big election party tonight here, and I'm telling you, this is a beautiful hall that we're in. We got plenty of room. Come on down. We're going to be here till the cows come home, or at least for a while, as we are waiting for the results to come in. And I'll be joined starting next hour by Dan and Chris and Matt, and we'll continue to push through until we either see that we're going to get a result tonight, or until I guess it's clear that we're not going to get a result tonight. But it'll be a while. We're going to be here a while, so come on down. Already some people coming in. The doors are open. The food will be available starting at 5 o'clock, and we've got great vendors here to provide great food and drink. And it's going to be a great time. So come on down and be a part of the festivities and watch the results come trickling in. We got big monitors up. You can see everything, and we'll hang out with you, talk to you, shake your hands during the commercial breaks as we can. A good time tonight here at the Wilson County Fairgrounds in Lebanon. As you come in the main drive, if you've been to the Wilson County Fairgrounds before and you come in the main drive into the main building, it's not that main building. It's over to the right. It's a huge hall, but it's off to the right a little bit, and you'll see where people are gathering and where all the food trucks are. So come on around. I think we'll have a good time tonight. Let's see. I've been looking at when we're going to start seeing some results. So let me see. I think we have some polls that close on the East Coast at 7 o'clock. Well, 7 o'clock there is 6 o'clock here. So in the 6 o'clock hour, we should start having some results come trickling in to our area. So that's an hour from now, or that's 2 hours from now. So let's take a look at where we are and what we should be looking for first. I pulled up my map and am going to go through all this for you. On the East Coast, there are 3 battleground states that we should be watching very closely. Of course, one of them is Pennsylvania, which everybody says is the swingiest of all the swing states. That has 19 electoral college votes, and it's very highly sought prize by both sides. It is said in this election that if you win Pennsylvania, it's yours, and that is certainly true for the Republican side of the equation. The other 2 states that are on the East Coast that are considered battleground states are North Carolina and Georgia. And so I think there's several things to do is watch North Carolina, watch Georgia, see what happens here. Traditionally, what you're going to have as the night progresses is you're going to have the major metropolitan areas. They'll come in quickly, and some of them, the boxes will come in, and it'll take the rural areas generally a little longer to bring in their results. Pennsylvania, interesting today. I saw a picture on the internet. Something interesting is happening in Pennsylvania that I don't think has happened in many presidential elections. If you've ever been to Pennsylvania, they describe Pennsylvania as you look at it on a map as it is Philadelphia on the right, it's Pittsburgh on the left, and it's Alabama straight up the middle. It really is. It's a very rural part of the country. And through the center part of Pennsylvania, you have a lot of Amish. I mean, maybe 90,000 or more Amish people who traditionally they tend to stay out of politics. They tend to stay away from that process. But today, there were pictures on the internet of all the Amish buggies lining up to go vote. All the buggies parked outside, horse-drawn carriages parked outside of the voting precincts, and they are casting their votes and they are participating. Why is that interesting? Well, I think most people believe that the Amish are very conservative, certainly religiously conservative. I think conservative in their politics as well. There are many things that they would disagree with the left on. Having the Amish turn out in big numbers in places like Pennsylvania, and by the way, Ohio and other states as well, is a real game changer. And Republicans this time played a smart game in that they did everything they could to get the Amish involved and, more importantly, to get them registered to vote. I think when we look back, at the history of this election, if things go the way I think they're going to go tonight, I think they're going to look back and say, what was different about this election? And one of the things that was different is that Republicans got very, very dead serious about registering new people, registering people who normally do not get involved in the political process, and making sure that they get out to vote. Most of them, I mean, a lot of them came early. A good portion, I think it was like nearly 80 million people had voted before the polls opened today. That's remarkable. And Republicans are now playing in that game in a way that they have not played in the past, and that is a very, very good thing. Okay, so Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. 3 states that we want to watch very closely in the early going, maybe Michigan. Some of the results will come in Michigan as well. Now, there may be other things happening on the Eastern time zone that will give us a sign if it's going to be a very good night for Donald Trump. One of them, surprisingly, is New Hampshire. Something is happening in New Hampshire. The Trump people feel very strongly that they can win in New Hampshire, that they're going to give it a run to win in New Hampshire. I expect that New Hampshire will probably remain blue, but I do believe that, you can tell a lot about what's going to happen throughout the night by looking at what happens in New Hampshire, because if there's a big Republican turnout, if Republicans do better in New Hampshire than expected, maybe they even win, who knows? But it's 4 electoral votes, it's not the world, but it's a sign that something else is going on. The other state that you should watch very closely is the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Commonwealth of Virginia, again, something the Trump people think something is up there. The governor, Glenn Youngkin, has said he believes without any doubt at all that the Commonwealth of Virginia is a state that is a lot closer than the polls indicate. I think maybe that Glenn Youngkin has a pretty good feel for it, and I think he's right about that. Is Virginia going to become a red state tonight? Is it going to flip from blue to red? It's been purplish in the past. Will it actually become a red state? I don't know. It's 13 electoral votes. If he were to pick up New Hampshire or Virginia early on, that would be remarkable. That would be great. That's something that you should watch as we go forward. Now, let me go through the rest of my electoral college map. Battleground states are. I'll start at the top of the clock and go around sort of clockwise. Wisconsin, 10 electoral votes. Michigan, 15 electoral votes. Pennsylvania, 19. North Carolina, 16. Georgia, 16. Going out west, Arizona, 11. Nevada, 8. So I'm going to go through here and just start to click some of these off. I'll start with North Carolina. I believe North Carolina will go Republican, and that's a pickup of 18. If that's true, then I believe that when that happens, Donald Trump will have 235 electoral college votes. Georgia, I think it will go red, but I think it'll be close. That will take him to 251. 251. Remember, 270 to win. Let's go out west. We won't have these results for a while, but I'm looking at Arizona. I believe Arizona will go for Trump. That's 11 electoral college votes. That puts him at 262. If he picks up Nevada, as I suspect he will, again, may be a while before we know it, he's knocking on the door at this point. That would be 268 electoral college votes. He needs 270 to win. So then we come back to the Rust Wall, the big blue wall of the Rust Belt states, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Look, the bottom line here is Donald Trump needs to win one of those. If he wins Wisconsin, for example, he's at 278. All right, so let me cycle through that. And if he wins Michigan, he's at 283. So let me cycle through that and put it back in the neutral. And if he wins Pennsylvania, he's at 287. Any of those 3 states, he needs to win one of the 3 to prevail here tonight. I think he's going to win Pennsylvania. As I said yesterday on this program, and I'll say it again today, I believe that there's a chance he can also pick up Wisconsin. I don't know about Michigan. It's a little harder to read. Some people think he'll do well in Michigan, that the union vote, the Arab American vote may go for him very strongly in Michigan. But I think Pennsylvania is in play. I think he'll do better in Pennsylvania than you estimate. We'll see as the night goes on. But he only needs one. If you go through the whole process, and I think it basically comes down to Kamala Harris probably will not have a pathway to victory unless she wins all 3 of the Rust Belt states. So all he has to do is break that up with pick off one state, and he's got it. She needs all 3, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, to win. It's a very tall order, given the very close nature of this race and where the polls are. In case you missed it, right now, in the Real Clear Politics national average, that's the general election popular vote. I don't care too much about it, but it is important to note that Harris is up by, you ready, on average, 0.1. 0.1. In the Real Clear Politics battleground average, Trump is up by 0.8. He leads in the battlegrounds, but I got to tell you, I looked at the Atlas Intel numbers today. Atlas Intel, the most accurate poll in the last election, 2020, and they have Trump leading in every one of the 7 battleground states. Let me run through them again quickly. Pennsylvania, Trump +1. Michigan, Trump +2. Wisconsin, Trump +1. North Carolina, Trump +2. Georgia, Trump +2. Nevada, Trump +3. Arizona, Trump +5. Interestingly enough, Arizona, I'm very interested in watching Arizona tonight. You got this guy, Gallego, going against Kerry Lake. And most of the polling before now, it has been all Gallego, and it was the expectation that Democrats would take the Senate seat in Arizona. The last couple of polls have really tightened up. And if indeed it's true, as I suspect it may be true tonight, that pollsters have underestimated yet again how many people are going to vote for Donald Trump. If they have underestimated Donald Trump again, as they have in the last 2 election cycles, then it seems to me that we're probably talking about a very good night for Donald Trump, and some of these races may be a lot closer than you expect. Does Donald Trump have coattails? One hopes. And again, if you added Arizona to the other states that I expect Republicans will take tonight in the United States Senate, that puts it at 54 Republicans. That would be awesome. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about the folks over at United Structural Systems. As you know, for years I've been talking about USS. They've been around since '94, more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. And they're known for their foundation repair. They're known for waterproofing when you have waterproofing issues. They're known for leveling concrete when it sinks or slopes. Well, I can now tell you that I am one of their 25,000 satisfied residential customers. I guess I'm 25,001. And they've come to my house, they've done work at my house, and I got to tell you, it was a great process. I was very pleased with the results. I had the standard thing they talk about, the stair-step cracks in the masonry joints, you know, where bricks have a little stair-step crack. Had that a couple of places in my house. They came out, they addressed it in very, very short order, and you know what? Looking back at it now, you cannot even tell that there was ever a problem. Waterproofing, had a guy named Manny crawling around underneath my house for days. We looked at it and we thought we had a little moisture issue. We addressed it, and now it's dry as a bone down there, and that's exactly what you want. So foundation repair, waterproofing, or maybe you have concrete that's sinking or sloping. Here's the number, 615-488-7855. Learn more by going to their website, ussTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Tense moments in our nation's capital today when a man entered smelling like fuel and had flammable items in a backpack. We'll tell you about it at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We're about 35 minutes away from the other guys joining us here for the 5 o'clock hour, the 6 o'clock hour, and we'll crank right on through until we start to get some sense of how things are going. Here from the Wilson County Fairgrounds, we are live on remote, and yes, there's a little bit of reverb in my voice, and that's because we're in a gigantic hall and people are starting to arrive now. Come in, plenty of seats. We got a lot of room tonight, and we're looking forward to have you join us. A lot of our sponsors are setting up booths. There's food on the outside, which will be available starting in the 5 o'clock hour. Food and drink. It's going to be a good party, and we'll be cranking through the night. So as you get off work, head on down and join us. Get a good seat. Settle in for the evening at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. I want to talk, if I can, for a moment. Everybody talks in this election about Pennsylvania and how important it is. It's the swingiest of all the swing states. Trump has said, and he's right, that if he wins Pennsylvania, he wins the whole darn thing, and it's so important. A lot of talk tonight is going to be about Pennsylvania. Let's talk what Pennsylvania is really about, really. 19 electoral votes, that's a huge number. It's the most of any of the swing states. The state's demographics, 2023, the state was 80.6% white, 12% black, 8.9% Hispanic or Latino, 4.3 others. Pennsylvania is a powerhouse for industry, but also for energy. They do a lot of industrial businesses build their products. Industry is something that still drives the economy of the state, but you also have to look at the energy industry, and that's why fracking has become such a big issue. Listen to this from the Epoch Times. A double-digit percentage of the workforce in Pennsylvania in some way, shape, or form works in the energy industry. A double-digit, many work in Erie County. Formerly, that was a Democratic stronghold, and it voted for Trump in 2016 by about a 1.58% margin. Very, very close in Erie. In 2020, Erie backed Biden by a margin of about 1 point. So the margins are very thin there, which tells you why everybody was so much talking about fracking. And while the Harris campaign was flip-flopped on their position with regard to fracking, went from the situation of being, completely against fracking, absolutely, I'll do everything I can to stop fracking, to now I'm in favor of fracking. Well, that was then and this is now. No real good explanation as to why she changed her mind. Erie is the reason she changed her mind, because they need to win Erie to win the state's a pivotal state. The oil and gas industry signed leases with landowners to drill, and some earn millions of dollars per year. Fracking is huge, says Holly Thomas, the resident of Williamsport, Pennsylvania. It's a lot of people's livelihoods and jobs. And I think most people in Pennsylvania, if your livelihood is tied to the industry, the energy industry, and if you're invested in something that requires fracking, as many people in that part of the country are, you're going to see through somebody who once said, I'm absolutely against fracking, and then suddenly when it was convenient and it helped her campaign, she dropped that position like a hot potato and said that now she supports something that she didn't support, and said she would do everything she could to stop at one point. So I think that's an interesting thing about the state of Pennsylvania. Trade is very important there. Again, remember, two big metropolitan areas, Philadelphia on the right and Pittsburgh on the left, and a lot of rural areas in the middle. The question is, will those rural areas and the suburban areas around some of these big cities, will they provide enough votes for Trump to win here? They have done a lot of work, the Republicans have, to try to get people to vote early and to shore up registration in the state of Pennsylvania. We cross our fingers and see how things go. We should start getting some answers here in just a few hours. 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock, time for the news.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on Election Day 2024. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, officials say voter turnout's heavier than in 2020, but so far lighter than 2016. And Channel 4's Marissa Sulik is at Sylvan Park Elementary School.
This is just a sample of the 35 districts in the metro area. All day we've seen people come to their polling place and cast their votes in about 5 minutes at the most, at the two we were at today. It's been a quick process and one voters were excited to do.
We're making history. I mean, I know a lot of people are against, certain things, but as for me, I voted, so that counts.
Now, I also spoke with the Davidson County Election Commission administrator today. He told me this morning they were going to start counting those absentee ballots. They originally expected that to be done around 2 p.m. However, I just spoke with him. He said now that's going to be well after 7 p.m. when they'll be done with those.
Tense moments at the U.S. Capitol building today. Police closing the visitor center following the arrest of a man trying to enter the building who officers say smelled like fuel and had flammable items in his backpack. Capitol Police Chief Tom Major says it's unclear if the man was planning to light himself or items in his book bag on fire, but an investigation's ongoing.
He had papers with him that he said his intent was to deliver them to Congress.
Chief Major says he doesn't think it's anything related to the election. Money News, Dave Packer.
The major indexes were higher on this election day as Wall Street awaits the results. At the close, the Dow gained 427 points. The Nasdaq was up 259 points, and the S&P 500 gained 70 points. A volatile day of trading for Trump Media, which was halted several times today. Shares of the former president's social media company were 15% higher in early trading, only to slide back with a 5% gain on the day. Shares have risen as investors have bet on a Trump election victory. If Trump loses, the price of the stock is is expected to collapse. Bitcoin back around $70,000 today, nearing an all-time high. Those Trump bettors are expecting the former president to be more friendly to crypto. Back at work at Boeing after more than 7 weeks, the strike by 33,000 factory workers coming to an end. Union machinists voting today to accept a company contract offer with a 38% wage increase over 4 years.
That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got a crash on 65 northbound at Old Hickory Boulevard in Madison. Then in Donaldson, Lebanon Pike and Briley Parkway. Dickerson Pike north of Old Hickory Boulevard in Bellshire. And looks like we've got the usual brake tapping going on to get out of the loop around downtown. 24 is its usual slow go until you get to about Bell Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, it's one of the number one questions I get from listeners. How can I get in the conservative fight? Well, it's critical to know where your dollars are going. And you may not know it, but credit cards are funneling millions to the left. Now you have a choice. Coin is Americans' conservative credit card. You earn cash back while fighting the liberal agenda. Apply now at coin.com. That's COIGN.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
38 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air from the Wilson County Fairgrounds, where people are starting to show up. You know, it's getting dark outside. In my little studio in Watertown, I can't see outside, and I don't realize how dark it gets. But it's getting dark. I hate that, don't you? I do. But people are starting to show up here at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. Look, we got a lot of room. We got plenty of room for you. Come on down and join us. It's going to be a great event. Already, the other team members are assembling. Dan Mandis is in the room, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Mandis is in the room. And we'll be joined by Chris Hand and Matt Murphy soon. See, everybody got here. He came here early because he didn't want to sit in the hard chair. So we are saving the hard chair right now for either Matt Murphy or Chris Hand. Listen, I want to go through these commentaries. You know, when you talk about what's happening, with the Electoral College and the voting today, everybody's got an opinion. It's like belly buttons. Everybody's got one. Some are innies and some are outies. That's what I've heard. But I've never actually seen an outie. But anyway, when they have opinions, and I think some of them are pretty interesting. Matt Towery represents a Insider Advantage polling firm. They were one of the top polling firms in the 2020 election, which is why when Matt Towery speaks, I listen. And here is what he said about where the election stands. He feels good about Trump's chances.
Number one, don't pay attention to the exit polls. They're always wrong. Number two, Polymarket, good prediction market, shows Trump 58% likely to win, 41.6 to Harris, and that's going down. The next thing you can look for are early voting. Trump is outperforming his early voting from both 2016, when it wasn't so big, at 2020. So all he needs is a good turnout of Republicans on this election day, and he's going to carry these battleground states. That's another point to make. And I guess finally, the polls, we don't know if these pollsters have adjusted their methodology to find these shy Trump voters. Robert and I both had more trouble this year because Republicans won't answer the polls. So a lot of these polls that show, oh, the Democrats are doing great, it's hard to get the Trump voters to tell you what they're thinking because they're scared to tell anyone.
See, now there's a conservative pollster who's telling you that even he has a hard time getting Trump voters to talk to pollsters, to his polling people, the so-called shy Trump voter. And so that's a real important point. It's entirely possible that the pollsters have once again underestimated exactly how much support Donald Trump has. They did it in 2016 and surprised everyone with a victory. They did it in 2020. They underestimated Trump, and the numbers were a lot closer than the polling had indicated they were going to be. Wasn't quite enough, but again, a stronger showing than they anticipated. Now the question is, did they fix that problem? Did they make the adjustments? And what you're hearing is one of the top pollsters in the country saying, we have a hard time getting Trump people to talk to us about how they're going to vote. And I think that's a very, very interesting development. Now, Mark Penn, a Democrat pollster, he used to do a lot of polling for Bill Clinton. And even though he's a Democrat pollster, I always think that he's a guy who pretty much gives you just what the statistics are. He gives you the numbers. He gives it to you straight from the shoulder. He's not one of the to give you a lot of spin. The data is the data. And here is his thoughts about the swingiest of all the swing states, the state of Pennsylvania.
And the polling there is incredibly close. And really, I think the biggest change, which gives Democrats a pause, is in the early vote. In the early vote, there was a 1 million vote lead last time, and that's been cut down to 400,000 votes. So that's 600,000 votes that have to show up in the Democratic column on Election Day. That is a tall order. That's why I think you've seen, concern on the Democrats' part about Pennsylvania.
That is a heavy lift. That would be a very heavy lift to try to get that many votes on the Democrat side of the equation. So Mark Penn, I think, sending the signal there that, even if we look at the numbers, and the numbers could be wrong, but they're probably wrong in a direction that will be good for our side. But he says even if they're wrong, Democrats have a heavy lift in Pennsylvania. I think he's sending the signal there that it could be a good night for Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, but we'll wait and see what's going on. So of all of the states that I'm sort of looking at, one has been sort of interesting, and that is Nevada. What's going on in Nevada? Some people seem to think it's a little closer than it should be. I want to talk here from John Ralston. Now, he's a journalist. He's considered to be the best political analyst in the state of Nevada, in the Silver State of Nevada. He's been doing it for a long time. He's speaking on MSNBC here, talking about how he thinks that, it's tight. He says, watch out, because the Democrats have a very good machine, especially in Clark County, where Republicans have voted early in a big way. Here is John Ralston.
43,000 ballot lead for the Republicans, but the Democratic machine here is still formidable. As you know, it's won the last 4 presidential cycles, and so I just think that they're going to be able to get enough ballots in between now and the end of the week, because they have till the end of the week for mail ballots if they're postmarked before the election, to just squeak it out. But I mean, I predicted that Harris will win by 0.3%. Come on, that's very few votes, so it could go either way.
It could go either way. I think that probably, if we lose Nevada, I'm not too worried about it. It's not many electoral college votes. Trump, if he wins Pennsylvania, doesn't need Nevada. I'd hate to lose it, but I really do think that they've done a great job of early voting there. And before we got down to the last moment, Ralston was was sending up flares left and right. Now look, he's on the left side of the equation. But he was sending up flares left and right, saying this doesn't look good for Democrats. This doesn't look good for Democrats. So now I think he's trying to put lipstick on the pig in a bad situation in Nevada. I think Nevada's going to be okay. Much has been said in the last few days about the state of Iowa. And this is a very interesting case. Now, Iowa should be easily in the red column. It's traditionally been a red state. But in the congressional races in Iowa, there have been millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars spent on the issue of abortion, and that, of course, is one of those issues where people are so passionately divided, and it does. If you feel one way or the other, it can get you to the polls to vote. And so, what will happen in Iowa? Why there is concern at the last moment about Iowa is that you have a pollster there by the name of Ann Seltzer, works for the Des Moines Register. She's widely regarded, highly regarded. She has been doing polling in that state for a long time and has a pretty good record of getting it right. She came out with a poll this weekend that was a surprise, a real eyebrow raiser for many people, that said that Harris was ahead in Iowa by 3. None of the other polling has picked this up. All kinds of polling out of Iowa, and it has not picked it up. But she says, look, Harris is up, and it has to do, she thinks, with the abortion issue. There was another poll that came out literally within hours of that one that showed Trump up by 10 in the state of Iowa, which is where I would expect it to be. So, the question is, was there something going on in Iowa that would change things? Again, if Trump were to lose Iowa, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I think that poll from the Des Moines Register is an outlier. I think when all is said and done, what you're going to find is that it's a reliably red state. Ohio's a red state right there next door. So I think things will be okay in Iowa. But again, it did raise a few eyebrows, mostly because of the reputation of the pollster, who has a sort of unorthodox methods, but have a great reputation of getting it right on the mark in the Hawkeye state. So we'll watch that one as well. I mean, I guarantee you that no matter how well we think we've got this thing figured out, and I'm not, we're probably going to have some surprises tonight. If something happens early in the night that it doesn't go our way, I wouldn't panic too much, because I think there's enough room on the Trump side of the equation that he can lose a state here or there and still do very well in the electoral college count. He'll get to 270, I think. I also think this. I think that there is I'll say 35% chance that this is going to be a blowout. And again, I come back to this thing, two things. Number one, the Republicans have done a great job of getting people registered in areas where they haven't been registered, putting new voters on the voter rolls. The issues tend to go toward Republicans this election cycle. I think that's something to consider. And then the other thing is that I think that Republicans, by and large, are going to turn out in bigger numbers than the pollsters have predicted. I think the pollsters have underestimated Trump yet again. So that means that I think it could be, I think it's about a 35% chance that by the time we get to midnight, this could be all over. Interestingly, today, Donald Trump out on the campaign trail, well, not on the campaign trail anymore, he's actually voting this morning in Florida, stopped by the cameras to talk. Here's Donald Trump from this morning.
But we're going to go over to the office in West Palm, and we're going to say hello to the workers. They've worked very hard.
Will Georgia kind of be your first indication of whether it's going to be
I think so. I mean, I hear we're doing very well there in Georgia. I hear we're doing very well. I hear we're doing very well everywhere. Now, I may regret that statement, but I'm hearing that we're doing very well.
Says we're doing very well, and so he cast his vote this morning. He is now going to be over at the headquarters there in Florida, and will end up the evening at Mar-a-Lago, waiting for results. But the word from the Trump camp is they don't expect results tonight. They think that it may be tomorrow or later before we get the final results. And, maybe that's true, maybe it's not true, one way or the other. We're here to look at some of the numbers and see how things play out at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. It's 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. If you've been around this area for a while, you've known that Eurofix has been the place in Middle Tennessee to go for your European car repairs for some 24 years. We've all got to watch them grow, and I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, the folks at Eurofix are proud to announce that, they've got a location you may not know about. It's in Mount Juliet, on Mount Juliet Road, right across the street from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can serve you in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. Pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting in a barn in the backyard of his single-wide trailer, growing to 5 locations, repairing thousands, that's right, thousands of cars each month. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Tense moments at the U.S. Capitol today involving a man smelling like fuel and carrying flammable items. That's coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, that's me on any good weekend, generally. While working in the yard, you never know what, you come back smelling like gasoline and all kinds of stuff. But it's a little different when you're walking in the United States Capitol. Yeah. Listen, we are setting up, and people are starting to arrive in larger numbers now out here at Wilson County Fairgrounds. Plenty of room, a lot of open seats, and a lot of room for everybody. It's a huge hall. So come on down and join us here as we begin our election coverage. When we come back in just a few moments, we'll be talking to the Secretary of State, Trey Hargett, about how things have gone in voting in the state of Tennessee today. And then we'll be joined by the other team members. Dan Mandis is here. We expect Chris Hand and Matt Murphy here any moment. So the night is just beginning here at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. It's 57 minutes past the hour.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on this Election Day 2024. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Here in Nashville, the Election Commission predicting this will be one of the busiest general elections in history. As of 3 o'clock this afternoon, turnout is said to be the highest since 2020, but not as heavy as 2016. And this man at the Charlotte Pike Elementary School polling location tells Channel 4.
I wanted to get in person for the first time for presidential election and just exercise one of the rights of being an American citizen. That's pretty awesome.
Now, the FBI says it has a command center up and running in Nashville. They say they're working with local, state, and federal partners to respond if there is any fraud or violence. Tense moments at the U.S. Capitol building Tuesday afternoon where police had to close the visitor center following the arrest of a man trying to enter the building who officers say smelled like fuel, had flammable items in his backpack. Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger says it's unclear if the man was planning to light himself or items in his book bag on fire, but they're investigating.
One of the officers noticed a faint odor of gasoline, and when they pulled the backpack off the conveyor belt, they noticed a much stronger scent of gasoline. At that point, the subject was detained.
Now, Chief Major says he doesn't think this has anything to do with it being Election Day. A new study finds the rate of kids having to go to the ER for caffeine overdoses has skyrocketed, more than doubling since 2017. ABC News medical contributor and Stanford Children's Health Dr. Alok Patel.
Most people, even adults who regularly consume caffeine, don't realize that some of those energy drinks that you can get in any store may contain 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine in just one 12-ounce can. And guess what? Any kid can go into a store and buy one.
Yeah, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends teenagers consume no more than 100 milligrams of caffeine per day. That's about 1 cup of coffee a day. And it's used by millions of school students around the world, but it wasn't always so. Sherry Preston has more on the inventor of the modern-day backpack.
Backpacks used to be big, heavy, and used mostly just by outdoorsmen and campers. In the 1960s, Murray McQuarrie came along, winning a contest in the Pacific Northwest to design a lighter-weight aluminum pack. After that, he and his then-wife Jan further tweaked the product to carry their books at the University of Washington. They named their new company Jan Sport and eventually became popular with students all over the country. Murray McQuarrie, who also invented the dome-shaped tent, died last month at the age of 80.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, in addition to the usual slowdowns heading home at this time of day, we do have some extracurricular activity out there. Right now, 24 westbound at Whites Creek Pike in Jolton. Highway Patrol out there on a crash. Then in Coffee County, way to the south of Nashville there, 24 westbound between Beech Grove and Epps Mill Road. Highway Patrol working a crash there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening, everyone. 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair, soon to be joined by Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, and Matt Murphy. We're all going to be doing a great deal of broadcasting tonight as the evening progresses, as we wait for the numbers to come in. But before we do that, let's find out how things are going here in the state of Tennessee with all of the voting so far. And standing by on the Newsmaker hotline is the Secretary of the State of Tennessee, Trey Hargett. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for joining us here on The Drive.
Hey, my privilege. But I heard who you're going to have later on, and I hope that building is structurally sound for all the heavy hitters y'all got coming in there.
Yeah, we got a lot of folks that will be coming through here. But what I'm trying to find out and what I'm anxious to find out from you is, how has voting gone today in the state of Tennessee?
You know, it's been a smooth day. It's been steady. We haven't, from what I understand, the counties haven't felt overwhelmed. I was at a polling station this morning at 7 o'clock. There was probably about an hour line. And so we had heavy crowds early in the morning at lunchtime, but it's kind of tapered off, and we're hoping it picks back up again here after work.
All right. And so about eastern Tennessee in the flood areas, I'd seen some statistics from North Carolina that said in their flood zone, they had a really strong turnout in early voting. How has it been for the people in eastern Tennessee who've been facing such a difficult time of late?
You know, it has been surprisingly strong, and I think that's a real credit to the election officials over there. Have really focused on anybody that wanted to be able to vote, who's legal to vote, obviously, being able to vote. In a time of great turmoil and abnormal times, certainly people want to look for something that's normal, and I think being able to get out and exercise your right to vote at least contributes just at least a moment of some normalcy in those communities.
Yeah. So the situation today, you say no issues. Have you had any problems? I know, in some parts of the country there have been some minor problems. Nothing big seems to have cropped up.
Yeah, nothing big. I will tell you that the biggest thing that's happened to us today is this morning, because of the heavy traffic that we had on our website. People getting up, want to check where to go vote, what the hours of operation are, what's on their ballot. We experienced some lag times and even some system failures on our app where people weren't able to get in. That normalized throughout the course of the day. But, that was my biggest pain point of the day. And honestly, if that's my biggest pain point on election day, I'm going to say it's a great day.
No issues with people who've had machines go down or anything like that?
I heard one thing about a scanner that went down at a precinct in Davidson County. But that's it that I've heard about. We did hear about a text that had gone out to some voters telling them their vote had been canceled in the presidential election. We've turned that over to the authorities to investigate. Those are really kind of the big things today.
And so somebody texted out that their vote had been canceled?
Yeah, some people received a text from a number they didn't recognize saying that their vote had been canceled.
Wow. But who do you turn it over in a situation like that?
We obviously turn it over to law enforcement authorities, and they'll get in touch with the people that we got it from, as well as they'll do whatever they can to figure out who did that.
Okay. So now the big question is, as the numbers start to trickle in, when should we expect significant results from the state of Tennessee, where there are many races to be decided?
Yeah. So here's what happens. A county can begin to report their early voting numbers whenever they don't have anybody in line at any precinct in their county. So if somebody's still in line at 7 o'clock, that person gets to vote, and so no results get released until that person's out of line. So some counties will start hitting us with numbers almost immediately at 7 o'clock. There will be some other counties out there it does take longer because they may have lines. But typically by midnight, we have 90-plus of our 95 counties that have reported election results to us.
Yeah. And turnout today's been strong?
I don't know if I'm ready to call it strong. It's been steady. It's been strong in different times of the day. Like I said, the morning rush, people at lunch. I'm hoping that dinner time or after work tonight will be strong, but I would not classify as strong. What I'm hearing is just more steady.
Steady. Okay, so what we had, it seems, were numbers that were pretty high I mean, you look at the 2020 election, a lot of people voted early because of the pandemic, and they took advantage of the option to vote early by mail, many of them. And so our numbers during the early voting seem to be just a hair below those numbers. They were pretty strong in early voting. Is that what were you surprised by that, or is that about what you expected?
You know, it's really close to what I expected. I mean, I didn't know that I necessarily expected to set an in-person early voting record. You know, as you mentioned, absentee balloting was way down. We typically see about roughly two-thirds of the voters vote during early voting. So we hit just under 46% overall turnout in early voting. Extrapolating that out, if another third votes today, we're going to hit 69%. You know, I don't know if we'll get to 70 or not. I'd like to think that we would surpass 70, but I just don't know.
Okay. Now, around the country, you know, you say we'll have most of our results in by midnight. That's exemplary. That's great. But some states, it seems like it takes so much longer to get the results in, and that's very frustrating to people. What are we doing in Tennessee that's right, and what are they doing in other parts of the country that's wrong?
Well, I think one of the big differences, and this could be an issue for us one of these days if we ever got a lot of absentee ballots in, but we don't start counting our ballots till Election Day. Some states out there allow you to begin prepping and counting votes before Election Day. For us, we require ballots to be in by the close of polls on election night. So if that ballot is not at the Election Commission by close of polls, it can't be counted. There's roughly, I think, 15 states in our country that they allow ballots that are postmarked by Election Day. So, you know, it's really impossible for them to have the final results whenever they're still getting ballots in. You know, Nevada is one of those states that allows ballots to continue to come in after Election Day as long as they're postmarked by then. You know, that's one of those swing states that does that.
All right, so as far as you know, everything is smooth as butter, no problems, and we should start getting the results, at least some results from the area. Which area traditionally comes in, the rural areas or the major metropolitan areas? Which come in first?
It's normally rural areas where there may not be lines, and they're able to go ahead and get the results in, you know, more quickly.
Get them real quick and shove them on down the line. All right, well, good. Sounds like it's been a pretty uneventful night, an uneventful day here in Tennessee. That's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's right. But I'm not going to go whistling to the graveyard. I mean, we're not done yet. So let's just hope nothing crazy happens in the next hour and 46 minutes.
All right, we'll cross our fingers and hold a good thought for you. Secretary of State Trey Hargett, thank you so much for joining. Greatly appreciate you being with us here on The Drive. Well, it sounds like things are moving along pretty well in the state of Tennessee. It is very frustrating to be in a situation where you have all of these states, you know, and the president, former President Trump, has said time and time again that he thinks we should go to paper ballots, and you know, there's a lot to be said for that. Talked about how in France they had 38 million people who cast ballots with paper ballots, and they had everything counted by 10 o'clock at night, and they were done. It's hard for me to understand why things are so drawn out, except that, as you heard the Secretary of State explain, in some of these states, they let these ballots trickle in. Now, if it's close, they have to wait until all the ballots get in to find out what is going on. If it's not close, and they know approximately how many ballots are out and potentially how many are still outstanding and how many have not arrived yet, they can do some extrapolation. But you know, it's not the secretaries of state who call these races, strangely enough. It is the different media organizations. A lot of people go with the Associated Press. They've been doing it a long time as a wire service. They have their brain rooms, their vote counting tabulation centers. I had some experience with the Fox News Channel, as you know, and I've been sort of able to watch a little bit of that process that goes on in their counting centers where they make these decisions. They're looking at a whole host of different factors. They're looking at how many votes are still outstanding, how many what do we get from our exit polling, what are we seeing in our key battleground counties. They look They looked in voting precincts, and they look at a tabulation. They look at the polls. They have a very sophisticated algorithm. I'm not sure what an algorithm is, but they've got a sophisticated one that looks at these things. And when the light goes green, they look around all the smart people in the room and see if they concur, and then they make an announcement. So it is the news organizations that make these calls, and it's really interesting how that all works. You know, how many people are going to be making the calls. Let's say, who makes the call first, who then follows. Associated Press, as I say, is one that a lot of people look at. I think many people in the room tonight here will be looking at Fox News, and I know many of you will be looking at Fox News as well. Their reputation for getting it right has been pretty good so far. So we are just a few minutes away from the votes starting to be tabulated out on the East Coast. When we get to 6 o'clock, that's 7 o'clock on the East Coast, and some of the polls will start to close, and then we would imagine that a short time after that we will start to get some of the numbers. All right, I'm going to take an early break here, and in just a moment I'll be joined by the other fellows from the team as we begin our election coverage. It is 18 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Final hours of voting across America, and here in Tennessee, turnout statewide is steady and uneventful for the most part. We'll tell you about it at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 23 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock, and echo. The team is together. All the guys are here. Dan Mandis is here. Matt Murphy is here.
Hello.
Chris Hand is here. And I am your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson. And we're going to be here, I don't know. Guys, what's your estimate of how late will we be here?
Midnight.
You think midnight?
I think one way or the other, we will be here until midnight. Either we don't know what's going to happen, or Donald Trump has won, and it's a big-time celebration, and we're drinking. That's exactly right.
I think that's what Murphy said to us during the cross. He said, if 10 o'clock rolls around and we got to win, we're definitely going to be partying.
Yeah, we're going to make it happen.
The party is going to be going on. So everybody is here, guys. So, I've been talking now for a couple of hours and a little more than that, trying to, depart what kind of knowledge I have here. This is the hard part, the waiting. Chris Hand, your thoughts about how things have developed today, anything that catches your attention, anything you're concerned about?
One of the things that caught my attention is seeing the issues in Pennsylvania, but not the issues in Pennsylvania being issues, seeing them resolved so quickly. In Cambria County, them extending the voting by 2 hours. This is something that I didn't see in 2020, that it really gives me a lot of hope that the team that they put on the ground from the RNC are fully equipped, they're fully prepared, they're watching like hawks.
On that point, I think we really are doing a better job of that. We've got lawyers on the ground, we've got watchers on the ground, and it seems that the RNC, that's part of a ground game, and their ground game has been much better this time around.
And in 2020, it seemed like most of those hawks were on social media watching from afar, and now those people are in the room, and I think that is very, very good for us.
Matt Murphy.
Learning from the trials and travails of 2020, I think we do have a better system in place to catch those problem areas around the country. We've heard about problem voting in Kentucky, some in Nashville and Memphis, mostly early voting, about concerns with ballots. But my takeaway on that is, as long as we catch those things before the people leave the voting booth, as long as we're able to identify those types of issues and they're not systemic to the voting system, then we're going to be just fine.
Well, we've got thousands and thousands of precincts, voting precincts all over the country. Overall, when you really look at it, it's been relatively problem-free today. I mean, there have been a few things that have cropped up, but as Chris said, I think they've been handled pretty quickly, don't you?
No, I do, and I'm excited about, and I understand the concerns that many conservatives, Republicans had with the early voting system. We've all expressed some of our concerns about early voting. We all know how it can be problematic. But no matter those concerns, it feels like Republicans have taken advantage of those states that allow early voting. I was talking to some folks in Alabama. Alabama does not have early voting. They only have absentee ballots for specific reasons. And they were talking about lines of 2.5, up to 3 hours of voting. And sadly, some voters simply cannot do that. They can't manage to do it, even with expedited voting. So I think the early voting states are taking advantage of those opportunities now, and I think we're seeing that in some of the early returns.
Yeah, we had Trey Hargett on a moment before you guys arrived. He said, it's steady, not overwhelmingly big in the state of Tennessee. Dan Mandis, opening thoughts.
The thing I love about what happened in Pennsylvania is not only that they got the issues rectified quickly, but that everybody stayed in line, or for the most part, everybody stayed in line. What I'm seeing is a passion among conservatives where it's like collectively the eye of the tiger. We're not going to get out of line. We're going to have our vote, and we're going to do what we need to do to make sure that our vote counts, even if we have to stand in line for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. So that's one of the things that I think is a great barometer of where we are as a party right now as conservatives, is that passion and that determination to make sure that our votes count.
Biggest concern as you face the results coming in tonight, what are you worried about?
I'm worried about overseas ballots coming in. Yeah. That was a story a couple of days ago where everything looks great, but they've got to wait until they read all of those and count all of those overseas ballots. And then, oh, look, we just found 1,000 ballots for Kamala Harris. Where'd these come from?
Yeah, how about that?
They came in from, Guam or whatever. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But that is my big worry, is that they're just going to find a bunch of ballots, and it's going to be one of those times yet again where we're excited because it looks like a Trump victory, only to have it snatched away.
All right. What about you, Chris?
I mean, I seem to echo what Dan's saying. I think I don't have many big fears or worries tonight, and I think seeing the RNC do what they did today in Pennsylvania reaffirms that. But my big fear is day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, and what happens when the team isn't as hyped up, they aren't as rested, and what slips by then.
My biggest concern is not so much what's happening today or tonight, but what has happened over the last 7 to 10 days. And I expressed it on my show today, Brian. I feel like the Democrats recognized about 10 days ago that they were about to get their fannies kicked, and they mobilized in the areas that they knew they had to mobilize in, doing things that are not necessarily illegal, but are certainly advantageous to themselves to try to get out of ground game and turn 30% voting returns into 60% voting returns in areas like Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Atlanta, Georgia. We don't know what those results are going to be until we see them start coming in. And I've heard it told that in order to win Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris has to get 700,000 votes in the Philadelphia metro, which would be almost 100,000 more votes than Joe Biden got in 2020. So look to that.
That's a huge
That's a huge number. So if you look to those numbers and we don't see some of those numbers coming in early, then my concern will immediately flip to what Dan is talking about, what Chris is talking about is, ooh, look, we found this large container of voting ballots, and ooh, 80% of them are Kamala Harris votes.
Where are we as a group on this idea that the pollsters have missed it, that they have once again drastically underestimated the Trump vote? I mean, I am of the opinion, listening to people I respect in that particular field, that they have once again, I mean, even the New York Times, if you read the New York Times after they put out their poll this weekend, Nate Cohn sort of dropped the caveat of all caveats with their numbers. They said, here are the numbers. But you know what? We've had a hard time getting in contact with Trump voters, and we may not have solved this problem, and there's an entirely real possibility that Trump's vote has been undercounted again. His support has been undercounted again, and he'll do better than expected. That, I sort of believe when I saw that, I said, this could really turn into a very good night for Donald Trump. Your thoughts?
As far as the polling goes, I tend to think that the poly market is probably a better picture of what the American people are feeling than the pollsters. I mean, just today I was watching CNN and they're saying people leaving the polls, they don't want to do interviews if they voted for Trump. They don't want to be caught on TV. They don't want to be seen. I think people feel the same way when they get a phone call from a pollster or when they're asked that question. Also, do people get phone calls from pollsters?
No.
I've never once received a phone call from a pollster, ever.
Very, very quick betting odds, 59% Trump, 39% chance for Harris is the latest betting odds that I've seen. What about you on this question of are we still undercounting Donald Trump's support?
I think so, probably. And here's the thing. I think they also underestimate how thoroughly pissed off Donald Trump supporters are. And, you know, going back to what we were talking about before with worries, my worry beyond today, tomorrow, the next day, is the Democrats not accepting the vote, period. You know, they've been running around asking Republicans, will you accept the results of the 2024 election? Very few people turn to them and say, will you accept the results of the 2024 election? That's the bigger issue. To me, that's the bigger issue because we know what they're capable of when you look at what we've seen in the past where they did everything they could to derail Donald Trump's first presidency.
All right. Well, we could get carried away here, but it would be time for the news, and we need to stop for that at 32 minutes past the hour.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, polls in 6 states, including the swing state of Georgia, set to close soon. Ballot printing issues are going to cause long lines in one Arizona county, and in Wisconsin, Milwaukee will rerun 30,000 absentee ballots, delaying the count there for hours. Here in Tennessee, Secretary of State Trey Hargett telling WTN's The Drive with Brian Wilson, voter turnout statewide is steady, not strong, but steady, and uneventful for the most part.
You know, I heard one thing about a scanner that went down at a precinct in Davidson County, but that's it that I've heard about. You know, we did hear about a text that had gone out to some voters telling them their vote had been canceled in the presidential election. We've turned that over to the authorities to investigate. Those are really kind of the big things today.
Some counties in Tennessee will start reporting results at 7 o'clock, he says. There will be other counties that take longer because they still have voters in lines, but typically by midnight. Secretary Hargett says they have 90 plus of the 95 counties that have reported election results to the Secretary of State's office. So far, Georgia reporting very few, if any, issues at the polls throughout that state. That's in spite of 2 locations being evacuated following a series of bomb threats. And Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger blaming Russian interference.
Law enforcement did go to every one of those locations, and all but 2 precincts, to our knowledge, did not stop any voting. And we had a couple counties that actually had postponed it for 30 minutes while they went through and did a check.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, crashes are getting in the way. Right now, downtown, I-40 westbound, the left lane is blocked right there at Broadway. Then near the airport, 40 eastbound, we have a crash right before Briley Parkway. North of town, I-24 westbound at Whites Creek Pike in Jolton, Highway Patrol working a crash there. And then down in Rutherford, actually Coffee County, Highway Patrol working a crash 24 westbound between Beech Grove and Epps Mill Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
39 minutes past the hour. We are live from the Wilson County Fairgrounds. Man, the crowd is starting to heat up, and the food is being served, and a good time is being had by all. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors. I mean, just going around the room. The Glock Store, the folks at Wellness Institute, Busy Bee is here. We got just a whole host of folks. You've got the actual
I've got the list here, Brian. U.S. Pest is our presenting sponsor, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, Glock Store, the Wellness Institute of Nashville, Paul Winkler, West to Tree Services, Members Nutrition, Cover Nash, Pig and Pie Catering, Space Cowboy Coffee, Music City Brisket, Smoky Dogs, Fatty Matty's Pizzas, no relation. And thank you to our beverage sponsors as well. God bless you all. We appreciate you.
Had a good turnout. Still lots of room if you want to come down and join us. I mean, it's going to be a long night. So, we got some room. We got some tables, got some chairs. Love to have you join us.
Are y'all
here.
big hype? As Chris Hand would say, are y'all excited? Yeah, the crowd's pretty excited.
They're big hype.
They're big hype.
I want to pick up where we were before we got so, rudely interrupted by the news department. No, I'm just teasing. Tell me a little bit about, your thoughts about whether or not we're undercounting. You wanted to comment
Well,
on
we were talking about, the polling, and, I'm well on record as I just have this overwhelming hatred of the pollsters. But I know. It's awful. But I will say this, and any listener of my show will know that I've been regurgitating this every day for the last 2 weeks, that if you look at where Donald Trump was in Pennsylvania, and where Donald Trump was in Georgia, where Donald Trump was in Arizona, where Donald Trump was in all of the battleground states in 2016 and 2020, I'll use Pennsylvania as an example. In 2016, Donald Trump, according to the polls, I'm talking about ABC, NBC, all of these polling data, he was behind Hillary Clinton by 5 points, and he ended up beating her. According to the polls, in 2020, he was behind Joe Biden in Pennsylvania by 7.5 points, and he ended up losing by like a half point. Right now, the polls are said to be tied in Pennsylvania. Does anybody believe that? Do we think that conservatives or Republicans have gotten more interested in doing polls in 2024 or less interested in doing polls? I think less. That's my point.
All right, so Dan Mandis has been monitoring some of the news sites. You may or not know this, but they do exit polling. Of course you know this. They do exit polling as people come out. A lot of people say don't pay any attention to the exit polling, but just by looking at certain things, you can glean a lot of the people who are coming out of the voting sites. And Dan, you have some statistics from the exit polling that's been done by the networks.
Yeah, this is from the Daily Mail by way of the Associated Press. Exit polling provided tell a initial snapshot. It reveals a key demographic shift in the swing state of Pennsylvania, where 83% of voters were white. That is up from 81% in 2020. The NBC exit poll found that 51% of voters trust Donald Trump on the economy compared to 47% for Kamala Harris. And this is a big deal. 72% of voters said they were angry or dissatisfied with the state of the nation, in a bad sign for the vice president.
Yeah, what happens in these exit polls is that the news organizations pull out information designed to sort of give you a head-forward look of what's going to come as the night progresses. Now, one of the things that I found interesting in what you just cited there is we're told that a lot of exit polling people, as you mentioned, don't want to talk to the exit poller. People coming out casting their ballots don't want to talk to the people who are taking the exit poll data. But, the exit poll data can observe skin color.
Yep, they sure can.
And they don't need to talk to anybody to observe that. And so it seems to me that one statistic is very interesting. And I'm telling you, that gives me real hope for the evening.
Are you of the mind that, even though we know that this is close, are you of the mind that, and I didn't catch your prediction, and I don't know if we want to go around and do predictions, but are you of the mind that the three battleground states, the blue wall, all have to rise or fall together? Like Trump has to get all three?
No, Trump, in my prediction, if he does well in North Carolina, if he does well in Georgia, if he does okay in Arizona and Nevada, we may not know those for a while, he only needs one of the three to prevail, and any one of them would do, the way I have it. And when I look at her pathway to 270, assuming that Trump does well in North Carolina, in Georgia and Arizona and Nevada, then it would seem to me that she has to win all three. I don't see a pathway to victory unless she wins all three. If he breaks up the wall in any way, it's a good night for Donald Trump. And that initial information coming from the exit polling people, I don't know. What do you think, Chris? That's a pretty good sign.
Well, I think it's a good sign when you see that him gaining in that category, because you also have to combine it with the context of him losing, or Kamala losing support among African-American voters at the exact same time. And how many votes were you saying they needed out of Philadelphia?
700,000.
So you're losing support in those areas, and that's been a trend since Obama to Hillary to Biden to Kamala. Now it's just disastrous. So if we're gaining that, that looks very, very good. I still think Michigan is going to be Trump's at the end of the day, and I'm very hopeful, probably the most hopeful out of any of us, about the state of Virginia.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Trump people saw something there, obviously.
And so did the Harris people. I mean, they moved their ads from North Carolina to Virginia.
Yeah, gave up on North Carolina. I mean, I think to Dan's question, those three have to go together only if something weird happens in Georgia and North Carolina.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
If Trump is successful in Georgia and North Carolina, he really only needs Pennsylvania or one of the three, as long as Nevada goes his way.
Yeah.
But I don't think he needs Michigan or Wisconsin. Picks up Pennsylvania, gets Georgia, and he's looking great for the rest. I mean, his path is a lot easier. If you go to, and Chris hit me up on this website this morning, 270 to win, which is a great website.
Yeah,
so you can do some adjustments on the electoral map, and you can see some of the combinations that it takes to win. And his combinations look a lot more likely for the future of this country than do her combinations with regard to, especially those Rust Belt states.
Can I share with you a piece of information that I thought was remarkably good news, and perhaps one of the most important things that we will hear tonight, and it has nothing to do with the presidential race.
Let's hear it.
I am extremely happy to tell you that I think we're going to pick up 3 Republican seats in the United States Senate.
Huge. That's huge.
That is so huge, because no matter what else happens, if for some reason everything that we think is going to happen doesn't happen, the Republican Senate stops the crazy. So we've got a firewall. I mean, I expect that we're going to pick up, let's see, West Virginia, no doubt, Montana, no doubt, Ohio. I even think that Kerry Lake may win in Arizona. And we may even get another one that we don't see if Trump's coattails are as long as it feels like they might be. Controlling the Senate it's not going to get a lot of attention tonight. But the moment I saw those numbers this morning and I started looking at the final Senate numbers, I said, that gives me a lot of relief, because it protects us from the crazy. You can't go in and do away with the filibuster if you don't control the body. You can't come in and try to pack the Supreme Court if you don't control that body. Controlling that Senate is so important, and it looks really good for a Republican Senate. The House, I'm not sure. It's close. But I'm not sure that the Republicans are going to hold the House. But if you're going to have to hold one of them, you want to hold the Senate.
Well, there's no question that in a worst-case scenario world, and trust me, Republicans, conservatives, half of the United States of America will be very despondent should Kamala Harris be successful by some measure tonight and become the next president-elect of the United States of America. But holding the Senate is absolutely vital to holding off on some of the more radical ideas that we all believe that she believes in. And that's kind of the problem with her candidacy all along. I think it's the reason that we all speculate that Donald Trump will be the next president-elect, is because she doesn't really hold true to the values that she claims to hold in 2019, which make her the most radical nominee in the history of the United States of America.
Well, some of these exit polls are also telling us what the major issues are. One of them is democracy. The other one is abortion, immigration, and the economy, of course. Now, abortion, obviously, we know who that helps. But, this thought on democracy and how people are concerned about the threat to democracy. Are the American people, do you think we live in this bubble? We have all seen how the Democrats are more of a threat to democracy right now than the Republicans ever have been. And they're the ones that are screaming about how Trump is a threat to democracy. I'm wondering if the American people have seen the behavior of the Democrats and all the lawfare over the last couple of years And they're saying, you know what, Donald Trump is right. It is the Democrats and Joe Biden and Merrick Garland that are the real threats to democracy.
Well, certainly Elon Musk thinks so.
Yeah, so your take is that we've co-opted the threat to democracy.
Right.
Yes.
Recognize that the ones that are screaming about it are the ones that are the true threat.
You know, though I always look at that question and I go, that cuts both ways. Because Republicans are concerned about preserving democracy as well as the Democrats. Now, everybody seems to think that's a Democrat issue, but I'm not sure that it is. I think if you ask many people, how do you feel about, how important is this to you? Of course, everybody wants to secure democracy and protect democracy. So I'm not sure exactly what that question gets you. I've always been sort of curious as to why it's always been looked at as a question that gives you some sort of revelation about where Democrats are.
Well, and to the heart of Dan's question, and I've asked this question for weeks, even if I grant, and I do not, by the way, but even if I granted the Democrats this concept that Donald Trump is an authoritarian and wants to stop democracy, tell me exactly how that would work. And no one can seem to do that. So he's president of the United States. He gets inaugurated. Who does he go to say, hey, we're just going to shut down the Congress, we're going to shut down the judicial branch, and I'm going to be the authority figure for the rest of eternity? It doesn't work that way. The Constitution prevents it.
All right, 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.